I'm going live now anyway.
Okay.
People might be able to hear us if they can't see us though, because we're hiding. We're getting audited and everything. We're hiding behind this little thing. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to. My phone tells me when I'm on. Then what I'm going to do is once it shows me I've got some people on, I'll play the introduction theme and then we'll get on with it. That's generally what we do.
I've watched it happen with you and Joe, and I think you before.
Yeah. We'll let's give it a go. Let's go anyway.
All right.
Here goes. This, by the way, is Adie sent me some footage from Thailand, so I've put our theme music to it, and this is what it looks like.
Okay. Wow.
There you go. Good evening and welcome to Raconteurs News this Tuesday evening. It's the 17th of March, so it's St. Patrick's Day, isn't it, today? Is that St. Patrick's Day or? It is, isn't it?
I think it's today. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day, and I think it's been the quietest one that we've ever had. So happy Paddy's Day to everybody, particularly to you, Denny, over there in Germany, who's an Irish guy. Well, welcome. Anyway, we've got a great show lined up for you tonight. I'm hoping we're going to have a great. We're going to have a great show, even if we've only got half the guests that are scheduled. One of them's trying to get through at the moment, and we're trying to sort everything out. But until then, we are. It's just myself, Jason Holmes, and I've got Will Thomson with me. Will, give us some sort of background of yourself.
I was born in Leeds, and I grew up in Scotland and Shetland. I was interested in nature and stuff. I went to uni and studied ecology, and my end dissertation was about transmission and infection of parasites in red grouse, trying to find out why these birds were getting infected. So I did sort of the best part of a year studying about how infections get about. I did a lot of traveling, and I was in the SARS outbreak in Taiwan when it happened there, and I sort of seen what it feels like to be in a place where everyone's kacking their pants and wearing masks and staying indoors and stuff. And then I worked for the Forestry Commission for quite a while. Do you remember there was the disease called ash dieback that suddenly broke the news and all the trees were dying in Great Britain?
I do recall something.
Yeah, go on,
yeah.
The forestry had been accidentally bringing in trees from abroad, little small nursery trees, and then planting them all over the country. And it turned out they were bringing in infections. So they asked me to come in and help with the database, which was getting overloaded with the sheer amount of data that was flowing in. I ended up having to rebuild the whole thing so that it functioned properly, because all the data was so confusing. They didn't know where they were going, what they were doing, which samples were being sent off. So because I knew the database, I ended up pretty much coordinating the entire survey for this huge epidemic that was spreading across the, all the forests. And then ended up having to give, because I had the data first, I had all the graphs and things showing how bad it was and what was going on. So I ended up having to advise the top government scientists and shareholders and stuff. So
shareholders, that's an interesting thing. What sort of shareholders are you talking about?
Well, the forestry are half science and half sort of they make money as well. They do the timber and everything. So
right, okay.
So they were brought in to say, like, what do we do? Like, do we care about the trees or do we care about making money? And unfortunately, they went with the let's make money plan. So the trees, and to this day, this disease is still now ravaging the trees in the UK.
So you've got a background in science, and you know, so you've got a scientific background, but you've also got a side of you that is not scientific. Well, perhaps it's probably based in science, but you're trying to base it in science, but also, you know, it's it's not quite what the reality.
You can say it, conspiracy theory.
Okay, I'm going to try and add Joe to this stream now. There we go. Are you there, Joe?
Yeah, I'm here, mate. I bet you can hear me now, can't you?
I can hear you. I can see you. It's a bit crackly. I can hear you and see you. If you don't move, we'll be all right.
Yeah, it's a bit grimy, isn't it? You're a bit patchy with me as well. Maybe the bandwidth. Right. What I might do is I might log out again, and I might log out and back to make life easier. Okay.
Yeah. That's not a problem, mate. You do what you need to. We'll keep it going around here, and you just do what you need to, because we can't hear you. Just log back in with an avatar, and hopefully we'll be able to. You'll get a better bandwidth. Or just disappear while I'm in the middle of a sentence. Anyway, Will, brilliant. So, conspiracy theories. How did you come across those, and how did that fit into what you were doing at that particular point in time?
Because at the same time as I was doing the forestry work, I went back to uni part-time to do a master's in energy and environmental engineering. And that looks at different kinds of fuel and energy sources that were on the table at the time, and evaluating which ones are good, which ones cost too much, which ones are damaging to the environment, and so on. And then the fracking started in the UK. And I'd been studying it. It was like, this cannot happen. This is one of the worst, most destructive fossil fuel industries. So I went down to England, and that's where I met Joe. And we ended up at Barton Moss. I was at Barton Moss, and then I met Joe in Nottingham. And we put up a bit of a fight to try and, we managed to bring down a company and put them under. Unfortunately, that got a moratorium in Scotland, and now, 8 years later, they've said they banned it. So, but getting to know all the activist crowd, of course, you then learn about Occupy and the what do you call it, the Anonymous, and so on. And that just sort of, you end up going down the rabbit holes, the various chemtrails, even ancient aliens. So I'm fascinated by it all. I'm trying to look at how people making claims about these things, whether it's pretty obvious or not that the science can just poo-poo it. I was just looking at one now about
Does that not? I'm just from a point of view of somebody that's not from a scientific background. Okay, I'm not from a scientific background at all. But I'm somebody that knows. I'm somebody that knows what I'm looking at and knows things. And I've got a condition that's really rare, which very rarely gets looked into. And I was able to surmise, as far as I'm concerned, anyway, that the problem with what I got was calcium. That's what I thought. I thought that the calcium was. It was the cause of the syndrome that I got. Right. So I'm not from a scientific background. I'm just doing that as a layman. Okay. So do you not think that when you're coming from a scientific background, does that not sort of taint your point of view? Are you always going to be coming from a science point of view? Or is there a point where you think, well, actually, science doesn't really explain this?
No, it's like focus on the science and constantly keep one eye open for stuff that isn't making sense.
Right.
I never come down on one side of the fence and go, that's all bollocks. Apart from flat Earth, they can all fuck off. Just no. All right. The rest, it's like I still keep one ear open.
What's wrong with flat Earth? Just give me some idea what's wrong with flat Earth. I don't want to hear it's retarded, it's stupid, it's this, it's that, or whatever. Just tell me what the problem is with flat Earth. That's all I want to know.
You mean why it can't be possible?
Well, yeah, why it can't be flat? Yeah.
I've flown all the way around it.
Well, yeah, you've flown around.
I've been around it.
Personally.
Well, at one point I flew for, I did like a 7-stage trip with Qantas where you go to a country down from Mexico down to South America and then flew from, what was it called, Santiago, all the way across to Australia. Now, according to the Flat Earth map, they are completely other sides of this huge planet. It would take forever to get there, but it took just the normal time and we flew over the sea. They would have to go all the way around the other side. It's just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit.
Listen, I don't want to get bogged down in Flat Earth. I didn't really mean to bring it up. It's just that I'm interested. When somebody says that they just completely dismiss something, I'm always going to ask them why they dismiss it. And you've just given us an answer to that. Let's say hello to Joe anyway. You've got yourself here. Can we hear you? That's the question, Joe.
I don't know, mate. Can you hear me or not? Like, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah? Right, I'm not going to touch a thing then. We're just going to leave it as it is. Right.
Perhaps get closer to you, Mike.
One answer to Flat Earth.
Go on then.
Okay. Well, I could get over here if you want.
That's better. That's brilliant. Yep, that's better.
Loud. That's brilliant.
Louder. Yeah.
Oh, hang
brilliant.
on. Well, let me just have this right, and you can have a shot of my ear hole while I'm talking here. No, Flat Earth. Just wanted to say one thing on Flat Earth, and it's the one thing that's always perplexed me. What colour or what shape is the shadow on the moon when the Earth passes between the sun and the moon? What shape is it?
So
what shapes are they? As
it kind of comes
as what traverses? Yeah, you got crescents, didn't you?
Yeah.
Like the shadow projecting around on the moon that gives you that crescent moon, and it gives you the waning moon, and it gives you the half moon, and things like. So I've always stumbled over that.
Yeah, well, like I said, this is not a Flat Earth show. We're not.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Well,
it don't matter.
Go on.
It doesn't
Sorry,
matter
Joe, I didn't hear you then.
Or lives. Like,
well, yeah, exactly.
What does it?
Let's move on.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly. That's it. Oh, if I wanted a Flat Earth show, I'd have got some Flat Earthers on.
Conversation. I won't even have a conversation on my Facebook wall because it's so divisive and so fucking stupid.
Any chance you can go on to any chance you can go to Firefox, Joe? And because it's really, really low. People are saying they can't even hear you.
When I went onto Firefox, even you said you couldn't understand anything I was saying, and in fairness, I couldn't understand you or Will. It was all like broken up. So I don't know. I mean, if you can't hear me from there, if you can hear me from here, then I will probably. I mean, can you put an avatar on this one?
We can hear you from here. Here, yeah. You could.
This is fine. Keep going because people are going. I said that's fine. Just keep going like that. What are we supposed to be talking about?
Oh, no worries. I'll stay here. And yeah, that's cool. I can do that. Right, where are we going with this coronavirus then, boys?
Yeah, coronavirus. What I was speaking to you earlier on, Will, about that. And to be honest, I thought afterwards, anybody listening to what you've got to say is going to be hanging themselves afterwards because it weren't quite. What's your take on coronavirus?
Well, first thing for sure is it is a virus. This is definitely a virus that's coming. I saw started watching a documentary this morning about how viruses don't exist and they're just soap in your body and all this nonsense. And it's like, no, viruses exist. We know loads about them. There's hundreds of thousands of people study them all the time. This is a virus and it is coming. The discussion of was it released on purpose? Is this an economic war by China? All that stuff. Oof, that's the scary stuff. But this is a virus and it's spreading fast. And we're in trouble now.
And how many deaths do you see? Do you see this being on a scale with Spanish flu or back in what was that in the 1910s? Were it?
Yeah, that was about 50 million people, more or less.
Yeah.
If this isn't handled right, it'll be 10 times that number.
You really think that? You genuinely think that? Because I mean, that what is
It's simple. It's very simple, man.
Just as somebody who whenever I hear something from government, and when something from government is overly hyped and it's got, I always feel that there's an agenda behind it. So I mean, if this virus has been released, and I've no doubt there's a virus that's been released, but what about the people that are releasing the virus? Are they immune to it, or what would they do?
The people who are releasing the virus?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not sure what you mean. The people possibly. Well, first of all, you know that it's quite mild. Like 80% of people are just getting a bit of a cold, a bit of a flu.
Right.
The problem here really is with the people who have health conditions, and there's a lot of them. People with diabetes, people with asthma, people heavy smokers. Yeah, there's a lot of people like that. It's hospitalizing severely at least 5 to maybe 10% of the population. And only with good healthcare systems, it's only killing actually about 1 to 2% of people. But there is absolutely no way with the sheer numbers that are coming next. I mean, at the moment, we're still tiny. This is going to explode if we let it run its course. The numbers are going to be astronomical. And only 1% of that is still high. I think the numbers they're quoting officially, what they're telling you, 250,000, that's very, very conservative. But if you realize that the hospital beds will be overrun by the end of the month, and they're going to try and, let me just check the figures, they're going to try and put 6 million people through hospital in the next 2 months, when we only have 180,000 beds. It doesn't work, not even close. That's they're saying up to 2 million people that will need intensive care, who absolutely will need oxygen and the ventilators that Joe said he worked with. Yeah, even if they could get through 50,000 people on the beds, what happens to the other 1.9 million people that absolutely need oxygen and just can't get it?
But we've been through this before. I mean, we have been through this before, haven't we? We have been told that there's viruses that are going to wipe us out or wipe out a lot of the population. Can you see how cynical people are going to be over this virus? And if so, if you believe that this virus is going to do the things that you're telling us that it's going to do, then is the apathy from the stuff that we had before, is that going to be a big problem for us? Because it don't really seem to be apathy, because everyone's just clearing shelves out.
Yeah, no, you've got all different factions of the society. You've got people who sort of kind of click a little bit, something really bad is coming. The ones that found out a bit late are just panicking and running to the shops and being daft about it. I went out over 2 months ago and bought well over 500 quid worth of supplies. As soon as I realized, I was like, nah. And I got as many people in the village as I could ready, got my boss ready, got everyone stocked up, and said, it's not so much the food's going to run out, it's when people find out, they're going to lose their shit and they're going to all go raid the shelves. It's just, that's what people do. As a group, we're stupid. It was going to happen. It always happens in crisis situations, and it was going to happen, and nothing was ever going to stop that.
Just a couple of questions in chat room. People asking where you're from in Scotland. You said earlier you're from Shetland, aren't you? But it's actually at the moment you're from Shetland in Scotland, aren't you? Oh, you grew up there, or born?
Okay, 2 years in Leeds in Army. and then moved to the Galashiels in the Borders, and then 4 years in Inverness, 7 years in Shetland for school, and then down to Stirling for university. And then I did a lot of traveling. I married a girl from America and worked there for a bit, so I got this American twang. And then when I came back, I was in Edinburgh with the forestry for about 5 years. And then went back down, stayed in Nottingham for about 2 years, and then came out here to Portugal.
So that there you go. That's why there we go. Guess his twang is he's in Portugal at the moment, but he's been a bit of a jippo. He's been all over the UK and all the United States and all that stuff.
I can't even roll my R's properly, so I have to really try. I've got a sort of a tongue that doesn't work, so
Yeah,
I just lost it pretty quick.
Joe, what do you reckon? What's your take on coronavirus? I know you've been sat waiting. Hopefully, we'll be able to hear you. Just get as close as you can to your device and just let us know what's your take.
Can you hear me all right at the moment? Because I don't want to start talking and then find out that you can't hear me.
Right. Well, what I'm going to do is you're going to start talking, and I'm going to mute everyone else's mics so that nothing can come through. Right. So go on. Right. Go on.
Well, I mean, I'm in an awkward position because I have always said that everything is on the table until it's tied out, and I have been looking into this entire coronavirus thing, and I will say now that to prove everyone wrong, in 4 or 5 weeks' time, we would, according to the government, had we not all agreed to this 12-week isolation, only going out if you need to, and so on and so forth, they were looking at a projected figure of 250,000 people with this virus. Now, with us locking down, it's down to supposedly 20,000. But I want to just take us back a little bit first, because I have been looking into some of this, and I want to talk about trauma-based mind control victimization. Now, the best way I can describe that is I want you to throw your minds back to 9/11, and when all of that happened, the trauma involved meant that everybody believed that an aeroplane could fly through a massive, great big building and have the nose come out at the other end. You know, everyone believed that like a plane could bring down a building. It was based on trauma. Once you put the trauma aside, the fear aside, you can start to critically analyze stuff. Now, I don't advocate any of the theories that are out there at the moment because I don't know the answers, but I am willing to look. And so when I see images of Chinese people just dropping down on the ground in China, supposedly due to the COVID-19 outbreak, yeah, and there's some respiratory symptoms, but like blue lips and unable to breathe. And then I get information that 60 gigahertz, which is currently what was being used in China, oscillates your oxygen molecules, your O2 molecules, once oscillated and agitated, no longer are O2. Yeah. So I do understand that what I saw with the Chinese victims laying on the streets and stuff like that, by locking us all in our houses, yeah, that we won't see that on the streets. Like, but there will be ambulance turning up for obviously people that have got illnesses. Yeah. But again, I've not seen anything on the news that says anyone has died of COVID-19. They've died from the underlying symptoms and been marked as COVID-19. So there is a lot there. I'm not saying the virus doesn't exist. And I do believe that, knowing that I've had to turn my laptop off to try and find any way to be able to be heard in a loud sort of way. But I do know that coronavirus is patented by the Pirbright Institute in Woking. It's Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation, DARPA, you know. So far as I can see, if, and I don't know this for sure, but if 60 gigahertz millimeter wave oscillates your oxygen molecules, and China's Hubei province was a test bed for it, is it not possible that it could have been turned on and all those people dropped like flies because they couldn't breathe, taken to hospital, respiratory syndrome, problem, reaction, solution? Governments have always made a big thing out of it. Maybe, just maybe, this is all your usual, and bear in mind, just as advocate here, all your usual winter illnesses that do kill a lot of people, still killing
Viruses.
people, but this coronavirus. Now, I will put in a caveat here because I don't want to get shot down. If the deaths continue at the rate that have been predicted by the government, it throws the complete 5G theory out of the window, in this country at least, because 5G has not been rolled out all over the country, yet there are outbreaks in all of the country. So again, there's a lot of conflicting stuff here, but you've got to sift through it. But the trick is not to dismiss everything immediately. Remember what Peter Mandelson said on the 7/7 ripple effect. The media will be controlled, and if they don't do as we say, we have the powers to take over them. So the media are telling us what the government wants us to. Not until recently, the government didn't want us to know anything. It drip fed us all the way through, refusing to bring out the scientific data, which they've never brought on, with a worst case scenario of 250,000, 250,000 people, yeah, which is 3%. But the point being is, now that we've all isolated, now that we're all in our rooms surrounded by Wi-Fi equipment, yeah, we're away for 3 months. What's to say that in those 3 months, the mass installation goes across the nation of all of the 5G infrastructure ready to do the damage? And the damage I'm talking about is if 60 gigahertz oscillates your lungs, oscillates the oxygen to your lungs. If you've all seen my video of the active denial system that was being prototyped about 10 years ago, and they were foolish enough to put up a video showing how it works at 90 gigahertz. And when pointed at a crowd of protesters, it makes their skin feel like they're on fire and have to run away. So if it can do that at 90 gigahertz, I'm pretty sure it can do it at 60 gigahertz. I'm not saying this virus isn't real. I'm saying don't dismiss all of the options. 5G isn't right in this country in any big way yet. The infrastructure's only just going in. The test beds that they're talking about, Gateshead, Brighton, Bristol, none of they have 5G, but they're not. So I believe it has got something to do with the frequency, if that's the case, and I'm not discounting the theory. But when you look at the lockdowns, it means it's taken away all of our social interaction. It's put us on the internet. Now people will be doing their shopping online. If you notice, a lot of things are coming up online. But today I watched a fella, and the way he was talking, it reminded me of the film They Live. The one soul voice saying, hang on a minute, not all is what it seems here. And we've talked about the Civil Contingencies Act. We've talked about the powers that are involved in that act. Have you not noticed that Boris has said advising things to shut? We're advising, Cheryl. But in the same breath, he's saying, but we have the powers to make this so. That Civil Contingencies Act stop elections. That is totalitarianism. So are they capitalizing on an outbreak, or is there something more to this? I just that we things a lot more closely, because as I've said, that people are dying from normal illnesses every day. Are they manipulating to make them the coronavirus figures? We need to see both on the table to make sure. But then I ended up because he said, I want to see bodies. And I think that was very crass and against every part of my nature. I don't want to see the body. I want to be sure that what I'm seeing is not disprovable. So in other words, if anyone can disprove any of this, we should throw it off the table. But so far, I can't see any disproof for it not being a virus or any disproof for the fact 5G could, at the early stages, evolve. Because I haven't seen anyone falling over with a heart attack. And blue lips mean suffocating. So I don't know what went on in China, what went on in the lab that they've got just next to China. What's the talk about the US military being over there? Why are China kicking off public about it? A lot of stuff mainstream MSM, and the reason is just like Peter Mandelson.
There is a Joe.
The media
there's
will
a lot of geopolitics. I'm just going to say there's a lot of geopolitics getting involved. There are a lot of geopolitics involved in that. But what I wanted to do is, because you've made a lot of points, and I could see that Will was on a few occasions were wanting to perhaps just get involved on those points and perhaps so Will. I'm going to get back to you, Joe. I'm going to mute your microphone simply because I'm going to mute mine as well. Simply because then it gives Will gets to talk. Go on, Will. What have you got to say to what Joe just said?
All right. I agree with Joe about the not just dismissing thing. I told you I'd like to look at both options, and especially when conspiracy things come up, and say, well, is there a normal explanation for that? It gives people a chance to evaluate possibilities. The first one, the patent thing, okay, this patent on the coronavirus. There are lots of coronaviruses. There's at least 4, which I think it's 4 or 5, which are quite common with us, with the flu and so on. The patent for that coronavirus, back then, I forget if it was SARS or not, coronavirus, but what they do is they read all the genetic codes, just like they can do with your DNA and so on, and they sequence it all into little bits, and then they keep a library of it. That's pretty standard procedure. The idea being that you can use that to develop technology. You can find bits that have... Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, it takes a long time to unravel the DNA or the RNA and then read it and then catalog it. It took them a lot of money, a lot of time. So they then, once they've done that, they patent it so that they can then sell that information to other people who need it. It's like me saying I could take a screenshot of every single page in the Bible and load it up onto my computer and then apply for a patent, because it took me a lot of time to do that, and then I could sell it to people. Say, if you want a photo from any page in the Bible, but to file for a patent, you have to call it a discovery. So it sounds like they own and have discovered or created the actual virus. They didn't. They just made a catalog of the what the DNA looks like, or what the RNA looks like. That's okay. So that's the patent one first. So there is a sort of a fairly obvious alternative explanation to they invented the virus. The guy falling over, the guy just
to come in. So what you're saying then, just because they've found the virus that already existed, like you say, and they've patented it, they've named it, and they've given it its code and its number and everything. So are you saying that they don't try to invent viruses? Do you think do you believe that they do try to invent viruses, and perhaps it's maybe one more?
Yes, they do. Right, there are labs all over the world, because we are aware that viruses jump. It's called zoonotic transfer. They jump out of animals every now and again. You've seen the scares with bird flu and so on. They set these labs up to then go out into animal populations, bring them into the lab, and then they check what the virus looks like and say, is that likely to jump into us soon? Should we be worried about this one? My understanding of do they make dangerous ones is they only know how to compare it with a dangerous one is if they find one that is dangerous, they mess around with DNA until they know that one's going to jump into humans. And then they can keep an eye on the other ones and say, well, if it starts looking like this, we got a problem coming. So I'm pretty sure, yes.
There's nothing nefarious about this, but then why are they trying to invent viruses in the first place?
I think I just sort of explained. They need to know what a dangerous one looks like in order to make sure none of the natural ones are becoming like that. That's the theory behind these labs, anyway.
So it's like what do you call it? It's the opposite to creation. So what you're doing is you're sort of looking at the viruses. What's the opposite of creation? Woman. You do know. Sorry. The point I was trying to make was evolution. So what they're doing is they're looking at the evolution of viruses and to see where they might go, where they may go in. Thank you, my wife. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. Yes, they slowly mutate over time. So that's the idea. They're trying to keep an eye on ones that might eventually mutate into a strain that could jump into humans and could be devastating. But I have no doubt that there's probably labs out there that do actually decide to keep the dangerous ones as a potential weapon. Sometimes you get scientists who just kind of. It sounds like they do this. They get told to stop the research, and I've heard stories where they don't know if that faction of the division decided to stop, or if some government decided to pay them to, keep looking into it. It's
Joe,
I don't know.
You look like you wanted to say something. You looked a little bit like you were on edge there.
I only want to say one thing really at this point. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, dude. You know who they are. They vaccinated loads of Africans.
I heard all about
them. Bill and the eugenists, the people that want to vaccine the world. Yeah, well, they're involved in the coronavirus. That to me, they own the patent. So considering the
not for this one.
Oh, I can't say it. German officer never mind. But his involvement can't be dismissed.
We know he's been all over the whole vaccination thing and telling people that a bad one's coming, and he wants to do everything he can. I know, that's what I mean. Can't dismiss any of this. I'm just saying that
no, we can't.
They don't have a patent for this coronavirus. They have a patent for the details of another one. From when I looked at that patent, that's what it was. It was a description of another coronavirus. It wasn't a description of this one. But yeah, they're involved. Of course they're involved.
No, it was just the coronavirus. It wasn't.
There's lots of them. There's not just one coronavirus. There's lots.
Yeah. I know, but the one we're concerned about at the moment is the disease. Sorry, mate. Yeah, the one we're discussing now is the disease 19, the one from last year. But the thing is, everything seems to fall into. Don't you agree that everything seems to fall into place a few years before, like the Civil Contingencies Act, and the way that has slipped past, and so many things have slipped past. Like it's almost like they want us in our houses. Now, again, as a caveat, I'm going to say again, I don't know one way or the other, and the only way we will know is when we look at what happened in Italy. If it happens over here, then there is no fucking more conversation about 5G being a problem, because 5G hasn't been rolled out over here. It's not in all the major cities yet. The infrastructure's only just going in, and very few people have actually got 5G. How many of the little lampposts have you seen? How many of the little antennas have you seen? It's not nationwide yet. This is, although they have said that London is peaking quicker than, say, Newcastle. And it's funny that they used both of those, because as far as I know, London has got 5G in its infrastructure. It's being built at the moment. And Newcastle, as we know, Mark Steele has been fear-mongering about Gateshead for ages and ages and ages, and now has iridium shaded glasses to stop the effects. But I can't discount something without being able to prove that it has no involvement. And the thing I keep getting drawn back to is China. Watching people drop on the streets, those videos were pretty graphic, and there were lots of them from lots of different areas in the province, and people were dropping like something out of Shaun of the Dead. And that is what I expect to see happen here if the same thing that it happened over there happens here, if you see what I mean. I don't fucking want to see it, don't get me wrong, but only the next 4 weeks will tell. If the numbers start doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling, we are going to see more movement of ambulances and mortuary vehicles and mass crematoriums, or are we? Because we're going to be locked in our houses. I'm on two minds here. Honestly, Will, two minds. I really don't know what to think anymore.
Are you still in touch with your two friends who are saying they're feeling sick?
Say that again. Hello? Say that again. Are you there, Will?
No, can't hear anything.
Nothing.
All right. Yeah. No. You're going to expect to see that in the next few weeks. Fairly confident. But people have got windows. They'll be able to look out the windows and see this stuff. You'll hear the ambulances and so on.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't think people should be looking for ambulances. No, it's a bit ghoulish. I mean, see them, but I think people should be looking to the places where these installations have gone in for the main 5G mast, like the one in it's down by Enfield Way. It's a little village there that's got one up. It was brought up that it's a perfect opportunity to finish rolling out that infrastructure nationally whilst we're all locked in our rooms. But again, this depends on if this virus, and I don't believe it was manufactured and released. I don't believe for 1 minute it just come out of bat soup or people eating dogs. It is, in my opinion, even if it's not man-made, it is a bio-weapon. Yeah, one way or the other, because it's either a natural fucking killer or it's a man-made killer. And if it's real, and it is going to do the rounds, and I have no reason to doubt the reports that I see on Dr. John Campbell with the nurses in Italy with their heartfelt statements to the world, but I also keep going back to Peter Mandelson. The media will be, we have to decide how we're going to control the media or the news, and that was back on 7/7. And a year before 7/7, before the bombs.
I just want to, Joe. I just want to. That wasn't Mandelson. It was what's his name? Portillo, Michael Portillo. Michael Portillo.
No, you're right. It was Michael Portillo. I stand corrected. No, you are right. It was Portillo.
As far as I know, Boris has said Boris has said that you guys need to try and stay at home as much as possible, but get out for some exercise. You can still go to the shop to get food. So it's not like people are going to be, well, certainly maybe a month from now, it might get that serious, but I'm sure by then, assuming this is going to unfold like this, then people are still going to be able to walk down the street and stay away from people and then notice or not notice. So it's not like you're going to have to be inside with the shutters down and not be able to witness and keep talking about what you see unfolding. It's a question of how late do you leave that before you decide to say, oh, this is actually coming. And you'd think by now people in Italy would have been whistleblowing. If like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of doctors have been witnessing people coming in with symptoms, tracking their symptoms, their temperatures, their coughs, and so on. And I don't hear hundreds of them going, hang on a minute, it's not a virus. Everyone's just going, this is exhausting, people are dying, please take it seriously. Is it possible they can control all of that in all the different countries?
No, well, hang on, no, I do agree with Will. I do agree that it is. I believe there's a virus. I do. What we witnessed in the early of China was people dropping like flies in the street. Just 1 minute stood, next minute dropped. Yeah. Maybe because there was a huge amount of military action outside at that level 4 biological base that they've got in the days before the announcement, the days and the weeks before the announcement. But I was accidentally from that place, or if it was deliberately released by an provocateur who managed to, you know, go in and scupper the Chinese to make them look bad, and they put it for 3 weeks to cover up. There is so much around what caused this. What we're asking ourselves is, who's accountable? Who's accountable? Why is no one looking for the criminal? Why was no one looking for the criminal on 9/11? Because we were told what the criminal was. The criminal was lying. Well, could we be being told what criminal is now? Could this not be a big psyop? And bear in mind, I had loads of people to ask their questions. Yeah, I don't know. I'm average Joe Public. I don't know the fucking answer, but I'm trying to, and that's how the only way I can get there is by talking to these guys and actually taking on board and then looking at their stuff. And the big thing, mate, if we see people just all over in the street and die or stop breathing or be unable to breathe, then we know we've got the same issue. But I haven't seen anyone do that. And now that we're all contained in our houses, the more, if you've got someone with symptoms as well, you've got the whole family's got to stay contained. It means you can't get out there and find out. I don't know. I think there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. There are two things I want to know. One, what the usual severity rate for all of the viruses. You know, people go on about pneumonia all the time, and it's got to be pneumonia. Well, supposing they are dying in it, just calling it COVID-19. If we've got the numbers that go the same, so in other words, you've got all these people dying of these illnesses, but you've got all these people more dying of COVID-19, then that's proof there is a virus. But at the moment, with the figures we're talking about, those ambulances turning up, all of them are going to be wearing black flag costumes now, the masks and whatnots when they turn up to any call. So immediately, whoever's looking out the window is going to think that's a case of COVID-19. Whereas it might be a case of pneumonia that's turned bad. Then all it needs then to say, oh, we'll test for COVID-19, you know, and that thing, you know, they come back to the glass screen, he's got COVID-19. But until we see the real same things that we saw on YouTube out in China happening here, I think the public should look a little bit more carefully. Yes, take precautions, wear gloves. I mean, I do. I'm wearing a gas mask when I go through London tomorrow. I'm not fucking stupid. I haven't discounted a virus either. So I'm going to take every precaution to protect myself and the people I visit, stay with, and look after. Of course I am, because I don't know that this fake. I don't know it's a fucking. I know it's a false flag, but I don't know it's a fake or a hoax, and I don't know that 5G, Wuhan was a hoax. I know it's all premature bullshit over here at the moment, because 5G can't do that sort of damage over here. It's not been built into the infrastructure yet. But they could, in the 3 months that we were locked up, if they wanted to, they could put in all the infrastructure. But again, I don't see why people are worried about 5G. These little small things and face coverings that are selling on eBay. These things that I sell on eBay, they're £11. And they're shielded to 360 gigahertz. So they reflect all Wi-Fi radiation up to and including 360 gigahertz. Now, when 5G starts at 60 gigahertz and goes up to 300, the logical conclusion is that if you're walking into a load of 5G and it's agitating the molecules of the oxygen, as they come up to your face mask, it's reflected away by the compound that's in here. So surely the oxygen you would breathe would be unagitated. Now, I haven't got an answer back because I haven't even had the time to email them the question, but it stands to reason. So I don't fear 5G in any way, shape or form, because I have a 5G shielded app. I've got 5G shielded beanies that you pop on your head, all that will shield out completely all the 5G bandwidth. So why not just wear the clothing and put some on your sheets so you've got surrounded of a nighttime on your bed, and then fight 5G? 5G is another issue. If it's involved with the coronavirus, it'll come out in about 5 years' time, just like. But to discount any theories would be a very foolish move for any person until they are completely disproven, because the government is very good at doing what it does. And if you're looking at government now, look at global government. Every government in the last 3 days now, or sorry, last 2 days, has used exactly the same script when addressing their public. Boris's script and his medical advisors was exactly the same as Trump's script and his medical advisors. Exactly the same. And the lockdowns
would you not expect that, though? Would you not expect that? Would you not expect that to come from the WHO? The WHO would give directives, and then different governments would just spread it their own way.
Well, the WHO were slow off the mark really, and didn't pick up the ball until a little way in. But since then, their advice has been bang on. The other day's advice was test. What, Boris? We're ending testing for the mild cases in April, or May, whatever. Sorry. So it was everything that was been advised by the World Health Organization originally was being completely ignored by the medical science over here, which Boris refused to release until the other day, and now they've released it. They've been, fuck me, you're talking about 1 million people, you cunt. And he's been going, it's 1%, like about 5,000. It's Boris Johnson. I mean, fuck me. Who could have seen this coming? Did any of my activist friends see the rollout of the New World Order and the global governance and the slavery come in this form? Stay in your house for 3 months. I've got a couple of polyprop suits and a couple of masks and a couple of tape radios, and I can go out for a walk with the person that I can go and stay with when I leave here, and I can go for a walk with her, but I'll have to stay about 6 feet away from her and talk to her for a radio. I mean, when we talk about division, there can be no further divisible number. You're down to infinity there when you can't see anyone. Now, I'm reserving all my judgments until after the next 4 weeks, because the next 4 weeks will prove categorically, one way or the other, what this is all about. Yeah, because if the numbers they are projecting at their worst case scenario, 250,000, that was if we all carried on mingling. Well, now they've got us all locked down and not going to pubs, although you can go to a pub, but you've been advised not to. Remember, none of this is mandatory yet. It is not mandatory, but Boris has already said, but I've got the powers. So if you don't do as you're fucking told, he will bring in the powers. And the powers are the Civil Contingencies Act. And that was deliberately designed for this. I mean, we all thought it was designed for something else a few years ago. We were all thinking, it's all about us uprising, about this or that and the other. But no, fuck me. It's like I said the other day, they've come out with a trump card on this one. I mean, no, I don't think anyone expected anything of this magnitude. This, I do believe, no matter where this stemmed from, I don't think this is a natural occurrence. I think this is a black flag event, but I don't know how or who. I can't explain it, but as we all know, people die in black flag events.
Joe, mate, listen. Just take a breath. Take a breath. I really just want to tell everybody, listen, you're listening to Raconteurs News. You're watching Raconteurs News in colour. With me, Jason Holmes, my co-host Adie, he's over in Thailand. He's doing his thing, and I've got some great guests tonight. I've got Joe Public, who is synonymous. I did put in the original self-proclaimed servant of the public in the original thing that I put out, but I did retract that, shall we say?
Self-professed.
Yes, well, anyway, you've been a servant to the public for 7 years. And we've got Will Thomson, who's got a dog, a lovely little dog. What's him doing?
Look at it. Look at Joe. He's still kicking.
I see your dog and I'll raise you.
Oh, there you go. We're going off tangent again.
We certainly have. Anyway, listen, I just wanted to make sure everyone knew what they were watching, because it's just sorry, Joe, I don't know what's happened to your microphone, but it's certainly not me that's muted it. But yeah, well, here we go. Let's see if is it unmuted. Oh no, you can't unmute your guest because they chose to mute themselves. There you go, Joe. So we got Joe Public on and Will Thomson. We're talking about coronavirus. We're talking about all sorts of stuff. What we're looking at here? Shall we? Are you going to show us that? What we're looking at here?
No, I was just trying to get used to seeing if I could do it or not. Don't worry about it. Yeah,
your full screen if you want.
There we go. That's the UK cases at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so I don't think you're gonna have to wait 4 weeks. You're gonna have to wait about a week and a half.
I saw today that in China today there had been 10 new cases of coronavirus.
What did China do? China completely shut everything down to the point that almost nobody was interacting for 3 weeks. And 2 weeks after they shut down, you start to notice that no new case, because no one was interacting, getting infected, then showing the symptoms. It started to drop rapidly. And they did it so intensively, that according to the no conspiracy theory. And then they had they had their own people watching each other. So if the neighbor next door started coughing, they'd be like, "Oi, that person's not allowed outside. And if you do, then we'll phone the police." They had fines going on and so on. So in theory, what they did as a response, a full-on 100% response, in theory, could quite possibly have stopped it in their tracks like that.
Can I just say, Will, most of the people that are watching this is going to think, right, oh, you're right. What you're saying is you're advocating for all this spying on each other. But this is what happened in China. You're saying that this is what happened in China, and this is why they got the virus was reduced so much. That you're advocating for people spying on each other, people being restricted, martial law, all that sort of thing.
No, I'm not advocating. I'm saying that's the official theory, and that would explain it on a
right. Okay, all right.
I advocate what Joe said. Keep in touch with each other and try and find out as quick as you can with people you actually know that you can get first-hand accounts of to find out what's actually going on. Get that. My temperature started going up this morning. I might be getting sick now. Sorry, that's my temperature. I check my temperature. I have done for weeks. 5 days ago was my last day with people at a cafe. And I've been isolating myself from them and sitting apart. But the kids came up to try and get me to play, and they kept jumping on me. And I had to jump up out the way and be like, no, separate. Because we've had a couple of confirmed cases from the local town where everybody shopped. And then you have tourists coming through from there. So in theory, those kids could have given it to me 5 days ago. And all of a sudden, I didn't feel great this morning, a bit lightheaded. And now my temperature suddenly jumped by 1 degree. So I'm going to keep you guys informed. If it continues like this, I'll keep Joe especially. I'll keep you up to date and sort of describe what's going on. My brother had an ambulance called out to his house 4 days ago. He took his kid to the play park, the play pen thing, about 3 days before that. Suddenly he's got a cough and feeling and a fever. So the ambulance was out, and now my brother's self-isolating. So I can also tell you how it's going with them as well. But everyone's
it's interesting to see from a perspective. I've been isolated since early November. I've been stuck in house. I've only got one leg, and my other leg is in a really bad way. We're really knackered up. So I've been self-isolated since November. So I know what it's like to be isolated in house, and I know what I think I'm in one of them groups where I'm now supposed to self-isolate for 12 weeks, for God knows whatever reason. But I don't feel anything. I feel fine. I've not had my flu jab, so I don't think that I'm going to get. I don't think I can get COVID because I've not had my flu jab. I think that there's a part of that. Anyway, that's another thing. But
okay.
Yeah, but I mean being isolated. I mean that really does have. And what they've done. This is what makes me more go towards Joe's side, and I go and I'm on your side with the science and your experience of it, and this is actually a virus and people are dying from it, and all this sort of thing. I don't know whether it was created or whether it was discovered. I don't know, but someone certainly put a patent on it, and it's been released somehow into the public. But what seems funny to me is that now what we're doing is we're putting everybody into the home, and then we're cutting off from everything that would make that comfortable for them. So, someone might think, well, I can sit and watch football all day. Well, you can't. Football's gone. It's off. I can sit at home, I can do what, but you can't really, and it's cut it all off. And I don't know whether that sort of sense, and I look, I completely understand your scientific view, and I'm with you on everything you've said. Everything you've said has made sense, right? So I'm with you on everything that you've said. But there's also the other side where what Joe is trying to express, which is that this has been done for a reason, and that reason, what we need to do is we need to work out what that reason is, and whether or not that reason's going to, be the end of us.
I heard a good one today, which this fits on both sides. It means there's still a virus, it is coming, but if you want to follow the money, that whole thing?
Yep.
It's about people making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So China and America have been in a war about trade and everything for a long time now. And America's been boasting about how well they're doing. China weren't doing so great. What if China released it, kept it quiet at the start? As soon as it started spreading, they knew how to deal with it. It was like, they were able to just go lockdown, cure their own people, and stop all these exports to other countries, knowing fine well at New Year it would shoot out to other countries. They'd get back on their feet again and suddenly go, I hear you guys want a lot of stuff from us. This is going to devastate everyone's economy, but China's back up on their feet. So that's one possibility. That was it was a weapon against the economy, and they don't care about the people. But yeah, it could devastate economy because we're all stuck at home having to deal with it.
I can't. The problem I got with that is that if the China to want to decimate the US economy and break the dollar, I mean, China owns more dollars than are in America, so they have more dollars than are in America. So they wouldn't really want to crash the dollar. So I don't know whether it would be a China-America collaborative to try and prop up the dollar, the petrodollar, because China's got a lot to lose. They own more American dollars than there are in America. So,
Right. It was one I heard today that I thought, well, that kind of fits both sides of the story. It's still definitely a virus. The only way to fix it is to try and either just give up and let it burn through and we lose a lot of people and get on with stuff, which is horrific for hospitals, doctors, and all the old people, or try and beat it the way they beat it. So they get they're laughing, they're back up and out to work while everyone else is.
I'm not. I'd advocate what you're doing. Listen, my wife's been working from home today, right? I'm in the self isolating. I've got lots of different health issues. I've got asthma. I've got antiphospholipid syndrome. I've got all sorts of stuff. So I'm in that, and I'm quite prepared to do all this. Right? I'm not one of those people that's going to be going and being what shall we say, unreasonable to other human beings. But all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find, I can't just think that this has just come out of nowhere.
It's uncanny, isn't it? Joe, do you remember my post from like a month and a half ago about this is a global hostage situation? Did you see it?
I don't know. You keep taking next day.
I don't like the arguments afterwards. I said, listen, everybody, this is a global hostage situation.
Unavailable. Right, you take everything you post, you take down after about 10 hours or so. Listen, can I just touch on some of the points spoken? Like, because I want to go back to the kids. You're saying about you're around kids, and it's now sort of like widely accepted in Italy that kids are transmitting this disease without showing any symptoms. So effectively, they're the ones taking it home from school, or they're catching it off their mum, taking it to school, giving it to school kids. They're going home to their mums. Like, the point is, our government has kept it at school. Right now, they're claiming economic reasons. Yeah, they're claiming that, like, no, I do understand the point, but this is why it's a double-edged sword, and this is why it's a 4D game of chess, because if you take those kids out of school, then a lot of the parents can't go to work. Emergency staff parents, like nurses or policemen or yeah.
That's
Everyone else
why
is fucking home. But that was just the thing about the kids. I was saying I do believe that we were told kids didn't get it right at the start. We were told kids didn't get it, but as news filtered through from Italy, we were still told kids didn't. They didn't put schools on shutdown like the rest of Europe, where they followed suit the other day. That was just one point I wanted to point out. And Jay, you were saying about being locked at home with no sport, right, and nothing on the TV, no sport, no racing, no motor racing, no fucking concerts, no nothing, right? Bread and circuses, mate. They just took away the one thing that they've always given us to keep us from rebelling: bread and circuses. And the final thing I want to point out is that the China, like again, Jason said, China is a thriving economy, huge. It owns global debt like you wouldn't. It owns fucking the UK, mate. It owns about 800 billion of our debt, or 800 trillion. We are basic. That's why Chinese people, up until now, could just walk through at Heathrow. They got special treatment. But do you know what the US said a few years back when China wasn't the top of the range, but was predicted to get to the top of the range and be the best economic provider and take complete global control? They said, if China does that, it'll catch a cold, right? So just remember, you could be going through the looking glass here, just like JFK, just like Patsy's, just like all of that, just like 9/11. Because when someone says that, like the military said, we're going to take out Libya and fucking Iraq and all the fucking places that were a pain in the ass, and ending with Iran. They told them that 10 years, but they did it. Well, if China starts to get the global upper hand in the economy in this world, China will catch a cold. Well, what the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Does that become a back and forward war?
No, in other words, that they are in a position to give China a fucking great illness and make it look like they caused the problem. Wouldn't if I turn around and said to you, all right, well, if he carries on, I'm going to make sure he catches a cold. And that, to me, means that, like, you know, someone's going to come and stick an umbrella with polonium in your leg. That's what it means to me. It doesn't mean, oh, the country's going to catch a sniffle and have a bit of an issue, and the Dalai Lama will spray a bit of water and it'll all be over. It's to me like a credible threat. So who's to say who released it? But fucker did, and I bet you no one ends up accountable again, just like 9/11 and just like JFK. We may be looking at something like the 332 or the 322 like from America, George Bush and his fucking cabal cronies. Is it 322? Yeah. And look at where we are now, like a couple of days away from March the 22nd. So I don't know. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people. Remember, I'm going through London in a full protective suit in the next couple of days and a gas mask, because I cannot discount that this virus is a fucking killer. And obviously the media is controlled at the moment, but time will tell. But in that time, I'm going to protect myself and the people around me as best I can, just in case it is. And I think it is, because obviously whatever started over in China was just the pantomime. And now you've got this thing going, it's the real thing. Right, you don't need 5G conspiracy, but hey, that 5G didn't have an involvement, in which case get yourself a 5G face shielding. Right, so if you are breathing oxygen that's been oscillating and agitated by millimeter waves, that'll all be reflected as you're breathing in. You should get genuine oxygen. Fucking tenor, mate. It's like that they brought out. You remember the laser guns they put in the newspapers? The policemen were carrying laser guns that would blind you, like, and it was in the Sun and the Telegraph a few years back. These are laser guns. Like, fuck me, go to Poundland and buy a mirror. Right, and the problem is, it's supposed to shoot you in the eyes and temporarily blind you. Well, now they've moved up to 5G technology, in a few years' time, you know, you won't be able to approach a building. It will make your skin burn. You will jump back. It is called the Pentagon Crowd Control System now, and 10 years ago it was a prototype, ADS. So 5G is a lethal weapon. Whether it's involved with corona or not, I can't fucking prove, and I can't. Even with the best videos that have been out.
Joe, I just want to butt in. Aren't we sort of like there are a lot of potholes we went down, but you know when we were in, when everybody were investigating 9/11 or looking at 9/11, for me it was about 2006, 2007, yeah. But there were a lot of potholes that we fell down at that time, and there are a lot of potholes that we since should have avoided but haven't. And you came up with one tonight, and you said, an aircraft entering a building, okay, going slamming through a building and the nose coming out, right? Now, that's for me. That is one of the things where people say, well, no, it goes through like a knife through butter. Well, it's called kinetic energy, and all the stuff is destroyed as it is. And all I'm saying is right. We all made mistakes back then, didn't we? We all made mistakes when we were talking about 9/11, and there were different things. Can we not be making mistakes about things now?
Yeah, of course we can. Of course, we were learning them, but it's sifting through it and have the time to sift through it. You know, at the end of the day, there is. I don't believe for 1 minute like that there isn't a virus out there. I am worried enough to take precautions, but at the end of the day, after hearing all the sides, I can't discount that this is a dastardly plan by the worldwide Dr. fucking evils to do serious damage to the world's fabric and put us all in little boxes unless we come out for work or food or medical emergencies. Now, bear in mind, the news has been touting around 18 months now until there is a virus. Until there is a vaccine. 18 months is being touted on the news now. Drip, drip, drip. We didn't get any of this at the start, but they were like, oh, we're just learning ourselves. All I'm saying is this is as shady as fuck. The government is either, I mean, Laura Adie, the big corporate shop, went into liquidation this morning, went bankrupt. Everyone's signing up for bankruptcy. Like the planes are going to be bankrupt.
I understand. Joe, please, let's just give way a go. Because Will's sat there and I've noticed he's reacted a couple of times to things you've said. So I wanted to give him, a little go and to put his point of view as well. So go on, Will.
I was going to say about the early on, I noticed the numbers early on from Wuhan when everyone else was talking about bat soup and some people eating bat soup. I looked at the statistics that were released. Now, no, it's not. You could see straight away it was a highly transmissive disease that because the vendors all got it instead of the shoppers. I was like, it's not airborne, but 49 vendors just got it. Why would they all be eating the same bat soup? That's just stupid. It must be like it's the shared toilet they've all used, something like that. And then I thought, wow, look at the death statistics. It's not that high, so no one's going to take it seriously. And it's already been shot out across the world. And from there, I was able to sort of look at all the possibilities and quite quickly realize this is exactly where we're going to be. It's going to be horrific it's going to shut down. I said to people, if you're worried about the 0.5% death rate I was saying at the time, I was like, it's not coming for you. It's coming for your shops, your way of life, your pubs, your iPhones, your bars, your restaurants. It's put a bomb in every single public space and it wants you to stop and it's not going to negotiate. And I thought, we're going to be here saying, this is the stuff that you guys are always talking about happening. That's exactly where we're going to be, debating whether or not this is natural or whether they're taking control. And that's what scared me. I thought, we're not going to know. We're going to all be paralyzed by the indecision of whether to help old people or not have our rights taken. And it was like, there's no good answer. And so I've been shouting on the end. I've been doing nothing but research for 5 hours. Every morning I do about 2 or 3 hours. Then I'm back home at night. I got fired by my boss because I kept telling him, look, we need to get ready, go buy your stuff. And he couldn't handle the stress of it. Starting to get in his head, like, oh my God, if this is real, it's going to change everything. Okay, can I go over some points quickly? The guy's falling over and fainting. This thing it seems to specifically go for the alveoli in your lungs, which means it's not just in the passages where you can like pneumonia tends to be the passageways. You have these cilia which sort of try and loosen things and pull things up, and then you get a wet cough. I had pneumonia. I ruptured the muscles in my chest here. It was so bad. But this one seems to go for just down at the bottom, and therefore there's no cilia moving the stuff up, hence the dry cough. But if it's taken over 50% of your lungs, and these Chinese guys like to work. I only saw one drop dead guy, but it looked like he just fainted from you got a fever, you can barely breathe for extended periods of time. I think he just passed out. I don't think he dropped dead. I didn't see the other videos, Joe, but I would say that's more fainting than dropping dead on the street. That's the oxygen one. Told you about my brother. Yeah, and just the fact that the numbers now are still low. I keep reiterating. I'd say it again. Keep your eye on what's going on. It's this week that's going to matter when you're going to have to decide whether you think this is bogus or not. But please, in the meantime, just take the precautions. But you can still go and walk out on the park. Just keep a good distance from people. Go make sure your other people are okay. You can still talk to them. It's the close contact that's the problem. And the last, this O2, Joe, can you explain this to me? If the 5G is exciting, causing the electrons to spin, which stops you being able to use them as oxygen, wouldn't that be like when the 5G is hitting you, then you wouldn't be able to for that short period of time, and then you'd be able to breathe after it went away. But these guys are getting slowly worse. The x-rays are coming out that the lungs are filling up with fluid, and they get more and more out of breath and then get put on a ventilator. I don't understand how the 5G would make you not be able to breathe for 2 weeks if you're only getting hit with it once.
Yeah, let me try and explain, because bear in mind that I was only given the information, and I've only had the opportunity.
Try and get a bit closer, Joe. Try and get a bit closer, mate.
I've been given the information, and over the last couple of weeks, I've only been looking over a couple of weeks, but it does appear that millimeter wave radiation frequency at 60 hertz oscillates oxygen. Now, oxygen is O2. So, but what it does is when it agitates both of them, that no longer becomes O2. Yeah, it's changed in a way. So it creates the shortness of breath because now that's, I don't know, and I am actually in the process of emailing the firm that supplies the radiation shielding compound that the clothes I wear is treated in, and I'm going to set some side of time as soon as I get down into the home county where I'm going. But my thoughts are that if you've got this 90 gigahertz ADS machine, which you must have seen a million times on my wall, where the US military prototyped it about 9 years ago, and they pointed this big fucking fish at this crowd of fake protesters, skin, and they ran away. But it only burns to not even a couple of millimeters below the skin, so it feels like you've opened a hot furnace door, and it makes you.
I know about this thing. Yeah, I know about the weapon. I know.
At the Pentagon, that's now called the Pentagon Crowd Control System, and it's there to repel anyone going towards the building. So all that Olympus has fallen shit is bollocks, because they can just turn this thing on and it turns the place into an oven around you. Now, to do that at 90, I'm wondering why it doesn't burn your oxygen at that frequency as well. So I still have a lot of it. I've still got to do a lot of research, and a lot of that's going to be conducted with Aegis when I get older and when I finally get moved via email. But at 60 gigahertz, it's supposed to mess with the oxygen molecules so much that it no longer is oxygen. It like separates them or something like that. I don't know, and therefore takes the thing. Go on.
Well, yeah, I've seen the G weapon. It's the giant microwave thing. I know, but sure, it excites the oxygen. That's not what doesn't make sense to me. It's the fact that if they're using 5G to make this what's happened now in China, wouldn't they have to like point at someone at home until they couldn't breathe well, and then follow them on the way to the hospital, and then keep pointing them at in the hospital while avoiding the doctor? How would they keep doing it over a sustained period of weeks?
Well, I don't actually know the answer to that because
you jump out of the way and you're done. It goes back to normal pretty quick. How can they specifically target people for extended periods of time, making it increasingly worse over time? I don't get that bit.
That's an extremely good question. And it's one that I can't actually answer, but then that's the point. There have been no safety tests at all on 5G worldwide. We are the lab rats. They're testing. In my opinion, they are testing because it's not rolled out everywhere. It's not rolled out in America. So how comes all these people are getting the virus in America when they haven't 5G in Bumbleschmuck, Mahoney, fucking Missouri? They haven't got 5G. So I do understand the difference, and there are questions that need answering on both sides. Because I reckon there's a bit of a tweak going on here. I do believe this is a black flag event. I do believe that this nasty has either been released on purpose or by accident, and now it's a big fucking scramble to cover up. But at the end of the day, I do believe there are going to be a lot of people that profit out of it, and I do believe no one will ever be held accountable for the outbreak that killed thousands, millions. Who knows? I bet no one ever gets pulled to account for it, because you can blame it on the virus, can't you? You say, well, it's natural, but I don't think they are natural. I really don't. I don't think it come from bat soup. I don't think it come from
it didn't come from bat soup. It definitely never came from bat.
I think it come from that bio. Hey,
but the story they had. Did you read the two university? There was two guys they wrote. It only came out in the Express, which was a bit annoying, but there was two university students who were training nearby, and they had wrote saying they know about one of their, not colleagues, but someone they knew who was working in the local hospital, where they actually take, I told you, they go out into the wild and they get animals that they know people are eating, and they test them for it to keep an eye on, see if any of these people that are eating this stuff are about to cause a plague. And this one guy, at one point he got blood on him, he said. At one point he got bat piss on him. So to try and be safe, he went home and self-quarantined for about 2 weeks and felt fine. So then he came back to work. And on the way back, he might have touched someone, spoke to someone, and was able to pass it on. Then it spread, got bigger. That bit made sense to me, except for the fact that it was only in the Daily Express. So it's really hard to start saying that sounds like how it happened. That sounds like how it started.
So bat piss then.
Yeah.
Avoid bat piss.
But when I heard that story, I was excited because I thought if that's the case, it is actually one of these natural ones coming out and not one that's been made. And I thought, well, let's wait and see if it doesn't start spreading in hot countries, because with a bit of luck, if it disappears in summer, that's not the best bioengineered weapon on the planet now, is it? If it just can't take the sunshine. But unfortunately, it is. It's spreading in Australia. It's spreading in hot countries. So it's not going to go away like seasonal flu.
Yeah. I think actually the thing with that is, I think it's supposed to go away. It's supposed to go away because the next one will keep us locked up for even longer. And there'll always be another lockdown for a virus. But I tell you what, I know we've shot the breeze on a load of subjects tonight, but with my public-minded consciousness going in it, I think maybe we should start talking about some of the fucking serious things that we should be doing to protect ourselves and our families, like wearing gloves, like having a bin outside your house with hazardous fucking sign on it saying drop your gloves in here, and maybe a bowl of washing up liquid water out there and a scrubber, like. So, and people that come to your house, if they're not wearing gloves and they don't wash their hands, they don't come in, you know, or if you go out, you know, wear your gloves, take them off before you come in. That sort of, I think that sort of thing is going to be very prevalent if this virus is the contagion they've made it is. Like, because at the moment, I've got friends that are well over 60, absolutely terrified, and the last thing I want to do is make them feel any fucking worse. But at the same time, I still believe, like you say, if you keep your distance, you wear a mask, you practice wear gloves, but more importantly, you remember not to touch your face when you're wearing gloves. It's so easy for us to do. We do it like so many times an hour, and I now wear black latex gloves, so when I put my hand to my face before it gets there, I go, oh, like, and away comes my hand. I don't touch. So, and tomorrow when I go through London, if I put my kit on one of them wheelie bins, the wheelie trolleys, the gloves are coming off before I get on the going. So I think it's important that those that are scared out there realise that you don't have to have any fear. There's a lot to this, but most of it is being driven by the shady cabals and governments. Like they've
it's the media. It's the media.
What's the
it's the media. It's the media. The media that people fucking see and hear and everything. And you know, the BBC, Sky News, and all that crap. And that's why I like this show, because we've got you on, right, Joe? We've got you on, and we've got Will on as well, and you both have got different points of view. But we can sit and talk about this. You know, we can sit and talk about this.
We haven't
shout at each other and call each other names. And I've got as much respect for Will as I've got for you, and I've got as much time for Will and as I've got for you. And I'd like to interview you separately at some point.
I've even got his car key in my. I've even got his car key in my pocket.
Good man.
I've still got your fucking car key. What am I away? No, he's a good lad.
I just thought you move it around when you plug it.
Everything there. We have to. Say?
Yeah. I was going to say, before I met Joe, I was full on science. It's all science. It's all science. And I would poo-poo everything else. But getting to know Joe, when we spent time together on some missions, he kind of taught me to keep that other ear open and not dismiss stuff straight away. It's been really helpful to always keep one eye open, going, but really, here's the science, but what if? And I to this day I do that. Anyway, so medical stuff. I think it's a good plan of attack now. Is like assume the virus for now, take the steps you can, and keep your eye on the ground to find out exactly what happens next week, because it will escalate quick. So I'll go list off some things I do. Lots of vitamin C. Get orange juice. I've got an orange tree outside, so I'm lucky. But I've just been caning oranges. Avocados, full of good stuff. Nettle tea. If there's ever sunshine, try and get out and get some vitamin D down you. Get some sunshine on your skin. I measure my temperature every day, and I keep a record of it. It's like peace of mind. It's one of the early warning signs, although you might be spreading it a day or two before.
Is that an anal thermometer?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, let's move on.
Okay. A little sort of like I'm not afraid of it, apart from the fact that I cane a lot of bloody cigarettes. That's my fear. Apart from that, I get a lot of sunshine. I'm healthy. I'm eating well. I'm drinking a lot of water. And I think I'm just about to get the flu. one thing you notice that, you know, you hear the stuff about the doctors dying unusually high. They are exhausted, they are not eating, and they're getting massive doses of this virus. If you're being careful, standing back from people and washing your hands and so on, with a bit of luck, if one or two got in, it takes time to start replicating and building up in your lungs. But by that time, your body has noticed it and has a chance to fight back, and you'll get mild symptoms and get better. If someone coughs in your face and you got thousands at the same time, every single one of them starts doubling and doubling, and it comes on so quick, before you know it, you can't use half your lungs, and then you get the pneumonia. So if you're doing a lot of the careful things and taking it, you know, assuming that it might be around, that gives you a much, much better chance of just, you know, wiping your ass with this thing and doing much better. So yeah, take all the stuff seriously. Like Joe said, not touching your hand.
Don't panic. So it would be, don't panic, but don't take any chances. Try to minimize
your well-being. Like, the good thing about this sitting around the house, lots of rest, lots of sleep, and try to be as calm as possible. You know, you get sick more when you tend to get a flu and a cold when you run yourself down and you've not been sleeping right. I always find I'm more likely to get sick when I've run myself into the ground. So look after your health. Look after your body. Look after yourself.
And for those stuck, if you think about it, a month at home with the kids, teach them how to bake. Teach them how to change a fuse. Teach them
how to kids. If I'm with kids, I'm not fucking stopping at home with them. Fuck me, my daughter's 22. She can fuck off. Go with somewhere else. My fucking stepson's fucking 20. He can fuck off and stop somewhere else. It's me, my wife, and my dog. So bollocks to any kids. Sorry, go on. I know lots of people have got kids. Yeah. Teach them to paint. Teach them to bake. Teach them to do things. Yeah.
With a family with a couple of kids, and I was mentoring the kids and like doing a bit of housekeeping. I'm a bit like a floating butler, stroke housekeeper, stroke personal assistant. And I spent 5 months there, and the kids were absolute diamonds. I fell in love with them while I was there. And they're a family that every time I go anywhere, I meet people, and I leave having new friends. That's what I've always said to you, Jay. There's no point in finding the bullshit that comes out on the internet. Like, go find out for yourself about people. And that's what I'm hoping people that are clever will do, very good at personal protection. In other words, if you've got experience with how to put yourself into a polyprop suit with a gas mask and rubber gloves, you can go and collect some old girl's shopping bag for her if she can't leave the house or she's got no one to help her. You can actually go and get a shopping for her, and you can take it back and leave it at the end, as long as you disinfect that handle that you've been holding with your glove or whatever. There are processes where we're going to have to step up a little bit and learn how to manage being protective towards ourselves and the people that we're interacting with. And we're going to have to learn how to manage that. And most people in the health industry already know how to do that, with the washing of the hands and the hygiene and the removing and the face mask, and lastly the gloves, then washing the hands and the face and the ears and the nose and the mouth. It's going to become second nature to us in the next 3 months.
Yeah. It just occurred to me the other day that, is it the Tudors or the Elizabethans and all them, the rich people from 200-300 years ago? They wore those massive white silly collars. Do you remember?
Oh, the Vikings.
Not the Vikings. No, they're like Queen Elizabeth I, not the Vikings.
Yeah, you're talking about the ruff.
Walter Raleigh and all. They had this huge white ruff. The ruff.
Yeah. I
think that was so that they couldn't just absentmindedly touch their face and get infected by a peasant. I think I don't know that, but it just occurred to me that's a good way to put a giant collar around here. You can't get to your face. No, it takes a few days to recondition your brain. My mom wears a rubber band around the middle of her hand, so every time she goes to touch it, she's like, "Oh yeah, don't touch my face. Just get a rubber.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult. Go on. What were you going to say? Go on, Will.
Just say get a rubber band, and it takes about 2 or 3 days. You're retraining your brain to just, recoil every time your hand comes up. You can retrain it pretty quickly. But yeah, it's a good plan.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, we are going to have to retrain.
How long have we got this for, Will?
That's the one that's what's got all the scientists all fighting each other over why you don't seem to be getting any good information. Everyone's waiting for a good answer, but there isn't. There's shit option A, shit option B, and really shit option C. It's looking like if we just let it burn through, it looks like if Boris wants to keep the kids at school, wait till they get infected, then send them home, but keep the elderly out of the way. It looks like that's a plan to the young kids who don't seem to get sick badly first, are pretty safe. Get them. That's 20% of the population. They're back to school again. Then it's the parents who've got a 99.9% chance of being okay. And by then you've got loads and loads of people that are immune, if you understand or believe the herd immunity concept. So that if someone was sick, tried to touch you and touch the kid and touch the middle-aged person, they've already got immunity. So it doesn't move on, and then it just starts to get less and less and eventually dies away. And therefore you've protected the ones that are most likely to go, or the ones that have got bad conditions. So it's a kind of you got to step back and think like a sociopath, but it seemed like that's what Boris Johnson decided to do, was let's get it burnt through quick, throw the kids at it first, which sounds horrific, but have you heard the kids are all running around spitting on taps and things at schools, trying to get sick just so they can get the school shut down? You hearing these stories?
That's what kids are going to do, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
the kids are going to do whatever they can do to get it out of being in school.
This is the point. It's containment, full containment, like China did. Sorry, I can't hear Joe. Sorry, I can't hear you, Joe.
My fault. That's what they did in China. Didn't you see the video of the elevator footage with all the kids getting tissues, spitting on the tissues and rubbing it on the fucking buttons? That's what the kids did in China.
The problem is, Joe. The problem is that these are videos from China. We can't verify them at all. You cannot verify these videos at all.
Timestamp on it. It was a proper CCTV video. I mean, I know you can Photoshop videos, but don't you think it ironic that what Will's just mentioned about what kids do over here, I've just confirmed watching kids do in China when it was on the outbreak.
Maybe that's how.
And Boris he's right. And the kids roam free, but if they're home and quarantined, they're going to pass it to the fucking parents anyway if they've got it, because they seem to be. They were told that they were not a part of the equation at the start. Well, now after Italy's come out and said, actually, kids seem to be the main spreaders. So why the fuck are kids still in schools? But then when you take them out of school now, they're still going to take it home and give them olds. We're fucked either way.
That's the big question, isn't it? Is why have they not taken kids out of school? If they believe that this is such a threat, you would imagine the children would be the first people out of the front line, and yet this is where they're putting the children into the front line. How would you explain that? Would you say that that's because then they can give that to the children, and the children will be strong enough to get over it, or the children will be strong enough to get over it?
The wartime strategy. You stop thinking about people as people and just look at the numbers and go, how do we get it over and done with and minimize the damage at the top end? Let's throw the kids at it. But then you got to think, who's going to want to throw their kids at it? What about immunocompromised children? It's diabolical. But I think he decided to go that direction for that reason. They thought, let's just hit it like it's a proper war and just stop thinking them as human beings and think, crunch the numbers, what's best for the economy, and what will actually, in the long run, be the strategy for saving the most lives. But we're human beings. We're not supposed to think like that.
Well, I advised my friend.
So there's no good answer. There's no good answer there.
Go on, John.
Sorry, I was just saying I advised friends on the south coast that I've just left, the one with the 2 lads, to take them out of school 4 weeks ago, and took the advice, thankfully. And one of them has a very low immune deficiency. So the proactive, like, and getting her to pull her boys out of school has probably saved her getting it, because she, like me, has a pre-existing respiratory lung condition. So it's all about being a little bit faster. I personally think that once it was known that pregnant women and children were at risk, schools should have been shut, but they weren't, because that would have put a massive strain on it, under the guise of, well, all the nurses would have to stay at home. I mean, this whole thing is a mess. Makes you wonder whether it really was by design, or some fuck idiot opened the door without having an airlock shut. I really don't know anymore. But all I know is that we now have to change our habits, and we now have to start looking after the most vulnerable in society. I mean, where are the homeless supposed to go? Where exactly are the homeless supposed to self-isolate if they're going to be rounded up and told that they can't stay in public? Explain that one to me.
Has there been any suggestion? Because they've asked that a few times on the news. Has anyone come up with an option? Stick them in hotels or something?
Yeah, no, I think Boris come up with the idea of machine gunning them all.
That'll work.
Yeah, but no, I mean, unfortunately, the homeless are going, because they've been eating crap all their life through bins, they have a high immunity to diseases.
Doesn't work like that.
That work?
No, I mean, they're not going to have a higher immunity because they're used to digging in the dirt. Like, it's good to be, if you're always hygienic and bleach and everything, then you never get exposed to any stuff. Like, I'm a gardener. I'm always outside in the dirt. I barely wash my hands and stuff normally, and I barely ever get sick. But my brother, on the other hand, who's really hygienic, always bleaching surfaces, every single time there's like flu or anything, he seems to catch it. When you're dealing with just minor bacteria and bugs and so on, it's good to be a bit dirty. But this one, it doesn't work. I don't think it works like that. I don't know what they were going to do or plan to do about homeless.
But it's certainly a question that should be asked.
Well,
it should be. Oh, fucking hell! I think I've got coronavirus.
I think they'll be told to muddle through just like everyone else, you know.
Yeah, well, that's certainly exactly what I'll do. Go on, Joe. What you were going to say?
Because the thing you've got with homelessness is, even if they put them in hostels, they're all in the same room. This is all about, well, to me, it looks like an entire eradication of the useless eater. Did you hear that? I said an entire eradication of the useless eater.
That's exactly what this looks like.
Yeah, it does.
I disagree. I'd probably disagree with that. I don't think it is. I think it's a fair campaign against the useless eaters. But I don't think it's going to be eradicating the useless eaters, because the useless eaters are the ones that keep the economy going, aren't they?
Well, I'm just having to think again about the homeless, but they're sort of mostly middle-aged, right? You don't get too many above the age of 70. I don't know. I'm asking more than I always got sort of have in my head that it's usually much more middle-aged people that are struggling. which means it's. I mean, this is going to be a crap time for everyone, but I don't think they're going to get massacred on any level because they're homeless. I don't know if they're going to round them up. That's the scary bit. What if we do start rounding them up and putting them out of sight somewhere? I don't know.
Again, that's another question for another show, isn't it? Really, what are we going to do with homeless people during this coronavirus, whatever you call it, whether it's a disaster or a period in our lives that we're going to have to live with, because we are going to come out of this. It's not, you know.
It's going to change everything, though. But I think we'll come out of it. But you asked earlier, like, about how long it's going to take, and again, it depends on what the actions are taken. If you went for this burn through the population, it's about 2 months. You know, where this plan that Boris seems to be doing of sort of throw the kids at it, then the next lot get sick, and then hope for the best at the end. But that's still going to decimate the hospitals. There's no way they can hospitalize 6 million people. It's not going to happen. So you're going to come out of it fast. Everyone's going to go back to work, but you're going to have no more doctors, and you know that's a mess. If you decide to try and really, if you got everybody on the planet to hunker down for 3 weeks, and then brought out the proper testing and all that stuff, then you could fix this and get it done within about 3 or 4 weeks. But there's no way that's going to happen, because the kids are spitting on taps. People are still going out on paddies night. Still people thinking it's just the flu and so on. So that's never the one perfect way we can get it done with is impossible. Unless you're a country like China, where they're all, you know, just yes sir, no sir, police each other, got it, and they're off and away. So drag it out, try and keep protecting people, and watch the numbers slowly take up and then slowly go down. That's why they're talking about the 18-month figure. If you were to successfully try and use this keep everyone at home thing and stop doing everything to keep the hospitals coping well, and assuming they can like triple up on ventilators and start putting people in, I don't know, stadiums and schools and so on, it would take a long time to get past that.
What once you've had it, can you have it again?
I'm hearing now that they're talking about that, aren't they? Like the report's been switching back and forward. Is it someone getting reinfected, or is it a test that then comes out negative and then they get tested again and it comes out positive? I can't answer that question for sure either way. And there's a possibility of there being two.
Go on, Joe.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think the answer is they won't tell us. Like, they won't tell us if you can get reinfected. You get this disinformation, like Will says. You get this one day it's this, then the next day it's that, then the next day it's back to the other, then it's not. Then you've got different opinions. Before you know, you don't know your ass from your elbow. And as again, like I say, the same thing, it can be seen through all Black Flag events. Like, the idea is to give you information in the guise of good information. I mean, let's face it, Boris has not been levelling with us since day one, has he? Right? And now he's having these daily briefings. That's because the worst has been told. We're now in lockdown as such. You know, travel only when necessary. Well, I've got a lot of necessary travel coming out because in the house that I'm in. And I don't actually live in the house that I'm going to. But so technically I am homeless. I've been assured that I've got somewhere to stay for the duration of this nuttiness, if it is. So I feel a lot better. But I'd like to be able to go out and help the people. Like, I'd like to be able to go to the next door neighbours and say, do you need any help? And I want to be able to do that safely. So I need protective equipment. Everybody should be wearing protective equipment.
Good evening, Joe. Joe. Good evening, Adie. Like how are you doing, mate?
In Italy and
I'm good, mate. Thank you.
mortuaries.
Adie has just joined us. He's from Thailand. He's in Thailand at the moment. I think he's half asleep.
He is half asleep, you're right. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm just trying to plug some headphones in. Hang on a minute. I'm doing a bit of universe. Hang on a minute. Talk amongst yourselves. Sorry, girls.
Oh, it's all right. I was just trumped. Oh, look at it. Look at that body. Eh?
What?
Look at that body there. Eh? It's like a god. Well, Adie, since you come on, both of my guests have run away in disgust. No, is he here? Is he here? Is he there? Is he every fucking where? Evening, Adie. How you doing, mate?
Me?
Adie.
Is this new guy?
Yeah, this new guy, Adie, he's my co-host. He's in Thailand at the moment. So
Whereabouts in Thailand? Where are you in Thailand? Where are you in Thailand? Do you know where he is? Is he in Koh Samui or Koh Phangan?
Is he sorting himself out?
Unmute your microphone, you dickhead. Fucking unmute your microphone, dickhead.
It's because these fucking headphones work for.
Right. Now put the thing up to your mouth so that we can hear you.
Right. Right. It's easier if I just do that and turn the mic off, turn the camera off, and then just talk to you.
Yes, as long as you can be a bit louder.
Right. Okay. Any good?
Nope.
No. Hang on a minute. I'll plug some Bluetooth in then. Fucking hell.
Yeah, fine. Where are you anyway?
Right. Right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Right.
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, go on, Aid. Go on. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. No problem.
You really fucking muted. Can you hear him, Will?
I can, but it's really quiet.
Yeah, you're really quiet, man. It's like you and Joe. Listen, I'm going to ditch both on you.
On WhatsApp. Any good? Hello.
Hello. Go on, Ed.
Right, is that any better?
Only very little. Only little time. God. You're listening to Raconteurs.
Phone.
We're trying to get all people sorted, fucking getting on. You keep trying to talk while I'm doing this, but anyway, we've gone past the 2-hour mark. We'll go on for a little bit longer on this Tuesday night. And don't forget, listen, we're back next week on Tuesday. On Monday, I'm going to try and get I'm going to get somebody on with me anyway on Monday. And then on Tuesday next week, we've got Mark Conlon coming on. So I'll be doing that on my own. Because Adie will be in Thailand, where he is now. Adie, can we hear you yet?
Right. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
It's like you've got your head under about 4 pillars.
You can hear him.
Right. Because I can't get a different headset to work, so this is it. Sorry.
I got a plan. If he tells me, and then I'll tell you what he said.
Go on then.
Right, I'm guessing you want a coronavirus update.
Yes,
I'm
please.
guessing coronavirus update.
Right, I'll tell you how it is in Thailand. They were talking the other day about closing the bars. and that never happened. That was yesterday, I think. And then today, it's come round that they are going to close the bars. But they're only closing bars and nightclubs. They're not closing shops. They're not closing restaurants or anything like that.
Okay, hang on. Let me tell them. All right, so they were in Thailand. They were talking about shutting everything, or not shutting anything, and then they decided to shut the bars and the discos and things, but they're keeping the shops open.
As for masks and things like that, you know, places have got hand wash out. You know, the what do you call it? The alcohol hand stuff.
The sanitizer, yeah, they got it out. Yeah. Okay.
And a few more people are wearing masks, but not many.
A few people are wearing masks, but not many.
Yeah, they are closing, as I say, the bars and that, and consequently, a lot of the staff are going home because a lot of them don't live in the city; they live out in the villages. Other than that, to be honest, if you look a few hours ago, if you were to look outside, nothing's really changed other than it's a little bit quiet. You know, a few less people here than normal.
All right. So because they closed the bars, a lot of the bar staff who live in villages out in the sticks, they've all just buggered off home. But apart from that, when you look outside, it's not that different, just a bit quieter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I was going to say in the morning, but it is. I'm 7 hours ahead of you here, so it is. You know, it's 5 a.m. here. A girl's just left me, and she's just gone to get on a bus, and she's on her way home to her family for a few days. But it's supposed to be until the end of the month, and then everything's supposed to open up again on the 1st of April. But apparently in Bangkok, they closed Bangkok a couple of days ago. I don't know about the rest of the country, but here it's just pretty much as normal.
Adie, travel plans, mate. Travel restrictions. What sort of restrictions have you got? And are you going to be able to come home, or are you going to be stuck there like a raconteur?
It depends whether you count being kept here as stuck. I wouldn't. When I flew in, all sorts of rumours about I needed to have a phone card to make sure that the Thai government could get in touch with me. That was a load of rubbish. All sorts of rumours about I had to have my temperature taken in Dubai airport. Load of rubbish. The airports were probably only 20% full. I've got a friend here who's he's an A380 pilot. He works for Qantas, and he's just been grounded for 3 months. So my travel plans will be pretty much as they are. I'll just see what happens between now and the 8th of April. If I can come home, I can come home. If I've got to stay, then I'll stay, whatever.
Did you get on that? Did you hear it?
Yep, I think we got that, didn't we? I think everyone in the chat room got that. Yep. He's he's my mate. Oh, fucking love him to death, man. Love him to death. I'm so glad because he got to he loves his holidays to Thailand. He absolutely fucking loves it. He goes and sees the same people all the time. He's got friends over there. They go on boats and all that sort of stuff. So I absolutely love it, mate, because he's such a miserable bastard when he's here. What a miserable fucking cunt. But I still have him on show because, he is. Go on, Adie.
It's true. When I come here, I'm completely different. But I guess that's vacation syndrome, isn't it? You know, we're always happy when we're on vacation. So.
Yeah, how long's your vacation, Adie?
3.5 weeks.
That's not a vacation. That's like an aborted fucking. That's like an aborted fucking. What do you call it when you fucking go and?
It's a bit like when I was a kid. I didn't quite get that long off school, did I?
Oh, super smashing great. So it's 5 o'clock there. Have you had a good day? you're on boat earlier on.
Yeah, I've had a great day. I've been out on my mate's boat. My mate's got a 12-foot boat, and we decided to have a little play in the marina where all the millionaires' boats are, which was great. And then we went up this little river where all the fishing boats are getting all the fishing nets ready for tomorrow. But, you know, who knows? I mean, we could be a few days away from there being, you know, no fuel for their engines to get out on the fishing boats. You don't know. No idea.
Wow, so it's hitting all over the world. And Will, is there anything you want to ask Adie? Because I mean, I know you're sort of the person on this virus. Anything you want to ask Adie?
Just how the news trying to give lots of broadcasts to people and educate them on what to do, or are they trying to pretend not much is going on? Because we're getting 24/7. We've been getting 24/7.
Yeah, I think the difference with people here is ultimately they couldn't really give a toss as long as they've got enough money in their pocket. It's they can try and pump as much news as they want, but when you've got government ministers who they just make all the decisions, and even the government ministers have left it up to the local councils to make the decisions, which is why Bangkok was closed down a day, maybe 2 days before we're going to be. So, but apparently tomorrow I can still go out and, you know, I can still go out and walk the streets. I just can't go in a bar. So
Just keep yourself distance from people, like minimum a meter, ideally 2 or 3 meters.
I
Yeah.
don't know, but you know, I mean, it's people are just kind of shrugging it off, really. You know, the Thai people have got more important things to worry about, like how they're going to feed their kids. You know, they're much more down to earth, and I don't know, it's just different here because the way they look at life is that they might have nothing, but as long as they've got enough to eat, then that's happiness.
I think that's where we're going to be. We're going to be switching our entire attitude towards this running around capitalist lifestyle over the next few months. It's going to be about looking after people you care about, and as long as people have got food. Like I'm hunkered down in a really, I don't want to tell you too much, but it's quite a nice setup I've got now. But I'm in a village full of old people.
What you've got to understand is AIDS gone to a completely different social system, right?
Yeah.
So the social system is unlike our social system, where we don't go to the places that have got integrity. We go to the places that have got the best deals and what have you. Whereas he's still in a place where integrity is a huge part of what people are trying to do. And so for them to be so laid back about this virus, and for us in this world where we've not got that, we're sort of like, we're really dependent on what government tells us and what's on news and what's going on. And, you know, even you remember back in the day when people had phones and somebody would die and you get a text message of a joke about someone's death on your phone. You know,
Never happened.
You must remember that. So somebody would be, this is before social media, and so somebody would have a joke that, so when Steve Irwin died, I got.
You're talking about celebrities. Celebrities.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about people, but I'm talking. So I'm talking about people that have been brought up in this situation. Now, he's Adie's in a situation, is in a place where the coronavirus is really, really down on the list of the priorities of the people that he's dealing with. And even though you might feel that the highest priorities should be, there, that's not where they're going to be.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. People here are in. I'm in Portugal, like I said. Mostly old people in the village, with very little money, barely getting by, growing vegetables in their own garden. Low population density helps. So, Joe, I know Joe's bugged out now, but being somewhere where you're not in a city, it's much easier not to sort of get so scared about this idea of being stuck inside. I went for a walk with the dogs today down the street, and it was like Book of Eli. All these poor old people who do nothing but sit around talking to each other in cafes and bars and kissing and shaking hands to everybody are suddenly being told they have to go stay at home. And I was at the local council demanding to see the president as soon as I heard about this, saying, I need to be able to try and warn you guys about what might be coming and what is coming. And at first they didn't believe me, but the news kept progressing. And then finally they let me go in and have a council meeting with them all. The people here really care about the whole community, social gathering, eating together, all that stuff. It's their whole life. And now all of a sudden they're being told to I walk down the street and they're all just standing at their gates, because they can't stand to be in the house. They're just standing on the gate waiting for someone to walk by to talk to.
I understand that people have been lied to so many times by government that they are going to be, no matter what you say, they're going to be
That's it.
a certain amount of cynicism.
And assuming things carry on like that for countries where they decide to carry on and then things get bad, it'll happen in the hospitals first, and then people start hearing about their close relatives and so on. So it goes back to what we're saying with Joe, like this is the week to really keep networking and find out what you hear.
That just to me seems like emotional nonsense, claptrap. You've not said anything. All you've said is that it becomes some person's relative, or it'll impact on some person. And I understand that if in reality this is a proper virus and that it's going to do us some harm, I don't see how that is helping. I mean, we're not. We're
What do you mean?
Well, I don't think that we can say that this is a real proper virus. I've not seen enough.
Can I? I don't know if you can hear me any better. I've managed to get a headset plugged in.
That's better. Loads better, Abe.
Right. Obviously, I've not been privy to any of the conversation over the past 2 hours. This is my sort of own personal view. Given that we know that the media and the officials never tell us what's really going on, they only feed us whatever we need to know in order to either progress the agenda or get us to behave how they want us to behave. I completely believe that this will change the world more than 9/11 did. However, I believe it's one of two things. Either it is a virus which is either going to be allowed to be the planned mass genocide, or is been engineered that way, in which case we'll all be dead and I won't give a toss because I'll be dead anyway. Or we're being fed a complete lie based on the fact that over 500,000 people a year die of the flu, and it doesn't even make page 7. And yet here we are with, I don't know, it's got to be less than that people who've died. And, there are more people died on English smart motorways this year than there have on of coronavirus or COVID-19.
Hey, listen, mate. Listen, I want you to have it. I just want Will to just explain to you about this virus, because obviously you weren't privy to what he was saying beforehand. When he does explain this virus to you, then it might make a little bit more sense, and it might make a little bit more sense of your question. So I just wanted, Will, would you address that?
Joe's been watching the John Campbell videos too, so he can sort of acknowledge what I'm saying. I'm not going off on my own theory here. This is pretty much just the numbers that they are telling us, as well as looking at all the different events that have happened. You can kind of see where the numbers are coming in the middle. Main thing is how fast this is so much faster than flu. Flu infects an average of about 1.2 people. So 10 people would infect 13 people. This, you can have one person in a church and infect over 200 people, like that happened in South Korea. Apparently that's super spread. This thing just is so much faster. And then it's 10 to 20 times more deadly, especially if the hospitals get overwhelmed. So the numbers that you're looking at here for the flu, I know the numbers are low now, but in 2 months, if you follow the figures, and you've heard they're batting figures around about herd immunity and how many people, 70% of the population, 80, 60, would get it. Even if you do the low figure for that, and then assume the mortality rate's quite low, the death rate in the end is still, what we got for something like 100 times worse than the flu. So that the potential for this to kill a lot of people, you're talking about 4% of the world population.
But it's potential, that, isn't it?
That's if we didn't find ways to stop it. That's if we tried to carry on our daily lives.
Okay. So how many other viruses have been on this scale?
The last thing we saw was Spanish flu, and that was 50 million people. But it did something strange. The first time it came around, it infected a lot of people, but mostly old people died. And then it came back for a second wave. Must have been slightly mutated, but the people who had immunity, when it came back the second time, it attacked the younger kids whose immune system tried to fight back so quick and so hard. The bodies actually ended up they call it a cytokine reaction. Your lungs are so quick to try and inflame all the cells in your lungs to try and attack the virus, they end up breaking your lungs. And so it came back for the second wave that was much more devastating. So this is on par with the Spanish flu, except now there's like 10 times more people on the planet.
Okay,
so it can't get to that. It can't get to that. Assuming it just goes according to the scientific theories that are out now, I assume what's going to happen is over the next week, it will escalate like what happened with Italy, and they're all like, take it seriously now. And then the measures, even the measures now, even if half the people are only staying at home now, that still helps. If everyone's washing their hands, that's going to bring it down too. If everyone's social distances, all these little things will keep the numbers from going up too quickly. And as they get higher, people will probably take it more seriously. It's just a question of how late. If assuming it all goes the way the science says, then I think that's what will happen. We're just going to have to find out it's a big shit show and learn to muddle by and get on with it.
Well, I really want to stay in touch with you and see how it goes over this period, and then we can have you back on. When we're still we're all dead or we're all alive or whatever. But we'll definitely.
Everyone has to stop saying we're all going to die. It's a fraction of the population. But a lot of people
having that fraction,
I know. Okay, so I suggest you take it extra seriously.
Listen, I am.
I do. I smoke so much, like that, puts my risk up by about a factor of 10 or 15. And my saving grace is just like I said, the health stuff. If I'm healthy and I've got vitamins and so on, then it's just going to be a bit of a flu for me. It's folks like yourself and these people that Joe helps that I'm concerned about.
Yeah, and we all are as well. We're all concerned. It's not. It's not. We're starting here joking about it. We're all concerned. My missus has been having to work from home today, which means fucking hell. Jesus Christ, I don't even get any privacy now. So it's just fucking gone nuts. So listen, we're going to shut down this show. It's been 2 hours and 19 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give every single person a last little rant or anything they want to say. I'm going to start with you, Adie, because you're probably the one that wants to get to bed earliest. Just give us your last 15, 30 seconds and tell everybody what it's like over there and how you're doing.
To be honest, the thing that most people are talking about is they're showing sort of videos of people at home wherever they live. I'm speaking to one guy who lives in, he's actually English, but he's been living out in Arizona for years. And there was a picture of an old lady stood looking at empty shelves. And what he's managed to do, because of his contacts over there, even though he's over here, he's managed to ring round and he's got it organised so that the old folks can go into the shops for an hour without anybody else being there. And if they've got people who've been tested and are negative, they're allowed to go into the shop to help the old people so that they can then be next in line to go shopping.
Sweet. Awesome. All right. Well, Joe.
What he said was very important. What Adie just said was very important. As more people get infected and recover, they become like invincible and can start helping much better.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point about it. It's a bright light amongst all this mess.
Joe, come on. Your closing statement, please.
I sent you a screen cap just now of it's basically a bit of an image of what's called mutual aid, and it's exploded on Facebook. There must be groups on this PDF. I've posted it on my wall. Post. There is going to be a group in your area. You only have to look. It starts at A and you have to scroll for about 5 minutes to get down to H. So wherever you are in the country, if you are in dire straits, look up this PDF on my wall. Hopefully Jay can stick it up with a screen cap at some point after we've buggered off. And if you are in any need of any help at all, my inbox is open to the entire public. If I can't help you myself because I'm down in a city and they won't let me out, we can certainly find people to help you. Especially if you're in your 70s and you're sitting there thinking, will the TV licensing come and knock on your license now that I'm stuck indoors for 3 months? You're not on your own. There are neighbours out there. Look out for the little slips coming through your door from hello, mutual aid. Just to chill. Just remember, they're turning up water on the frog. Try to.
Good man. There you go. That's the last word from Joe Public and Will. I've got to say, I found you the most intriguing person to talk to tonight. I think it's probably because you disagree with a lot of stuff that I say. But yeah, a last word from you.
Sorry?
Last word from you.
No, I think we've covered about everything I would say over and over again. This is the positive message now. I think it's the time for everything we've been talking about. Keeping an eye on the people who are going to struggle. I think that is really...
That's a great idea. Keep an eye on everybody that you know that is next door neighbour or whatever. Even if you don't speak to them, just go and knock on the door. Just say hello. Just say, look, if you need anything, as long as it's not going to cost me any money. No, I'm joking. But you tell anybody if you need anything, I'm here, and this is my number. And, we all need to get together on this, no matter what it is, no matter what you think it is, whether you think it's some sort of government thing that's been, some world thing that's been spread. We need to stick together. and that's the main. I think that's the main message from tonight. So I'm going to say good night to everybody. Thanks to everyone who's been in the chat room. You've all been great in there. I'm going to have a look back on that a little bit later on, but it's been going nuts. So thanks to Joe Public. Thanks to Will Thomson. Thank you to Adie Hardy over there in Thailand, who's probably fell asleep. My name's Jason.
No, I'm still here.
My name's Jason Holmes. It's Raconteurs News. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe as well. Subscribe, like, subscribers. It's nice and easy. Take it easy. See you later. Love you all.
In a bit.